Okay, welcome to Mindful Moments with Micha, the podcast. This is my first episode, obviously, as we can tell. And this podcast is going to be all things fitness, lifestyle, mindfulness, mental health, spirituality, a little bit of everything. And I guess the purpose of me starting this podcast is to talk about difficult topics, difficult conversations, and talk about them in an uplifting and inspiring way to show people that, we can overcome anything that we are going through, and to, I guess, just bring some lightheartedness to things that are often difficult or unspoken of. So yeah, I'm absolutely shitting myself doing this episode. So it's not going to be perfect, but nothing is perfect, so that's okay. So first of all, who am I? I'm Micha, I'm an online coach, and I work with women to educate them and guide them on their fitness journeys. My coaching business is very holistic based, so mind, body, soul, spirit, all together, to kind of show people how to live a more empowering, positive, happy life despite whatever your circumstances are. And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast as well, is to, empower you through difficult situations and show you that you are everything you need and everything that you need is within you. And sometimes we just need a little bit of help in seeing that. So yeah, I would describe myself as a free spirit. I'm very happy, confident. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I know who I am. I'm not afraid to go against the grain. I'm super independent. But I wasn't always this way. Anyone who knows me from childhood, even teenagers, would have said, I was really shy. I was very codependent. I was not independent at all. And I wasn't happy. Life was not the easiest for me, and I kind of grew up not understanding why I felt the way I felt or why I was going through things that I went through. I had literally no understanding or idea why I struggled, and it took me a long time to get to the bottom of it. I'm gonna talk about my journey on this podcast. I have notes here, and I'm trying to keep it as organic as possible, but I just have some pointers because otherwise I'll go on a tangent. And I really want to be as raw and honest as possible in this episode. So yeah, just a little disclaimer that there is going to be part of this conversation that talks about sexual abuse. So I will put into the description when that is being talked about, and if you are not ready to listen to that, then you can skip past. But yeah, just a disclaimer, trigger warning, that there's going to be some difficult conversations in this episode. So yeah, as long as I can remember, I really, really suffered with my mental health. I started therapy at a really young age. I spoke about this on a podcast before. The first ever form of therapy I done was arts therapy, and it was awful. Kelsey is here with me, and I think that gave me PTSD from therapy. Genuinely, I had the fear. So that was my first experience of therapy. Continued on then when I got a bit older, and I done CBT therapy, all the rest, and then I was medicated with antidepressants at about the age 16, 17. And this was kind of the last resort for me. I was suicidal. I was not happy. I was in quite a toxic relationship. I was just at rock bottom. And this was the only option for me at the time, was to become medicated. And I have nothing against medication, but for me, it was short-term relief, and it didn't actually get to the depths of why I was struggling or what I was going through. So we fast forward then to COVID, and I was still really struggling mentally, but I read the book Lost Connections, and it kind of lit a spark in me to start, I guess, trying to discover myself, who I am, what I really stand for, and how can I become this happy person that I really wanted to be without needing and relying on medication. So I went cold turkey off medication, which I don't recommend to a friend, to be honest. But I just was like, this is now or never for me. So yeah, I went cold turkey, and that was kind of the beginning of, I guess, my healing journey through like spirituality and whatnot. Um so yeah, that was like the beginning of me learning to like self heal and meditating, using nature as a form of therapy, as a form of healing. I started going to the gym more regularly, and I was starting to feel better in myself, but I just always had this thing inside me where I never felt good enough. I never thought I would be enough. And I was so insecure. I was such a shell of myself. Like, I look back at that girl and I'm like, I don't even know her, and I get emotional when I look back because she went through so much. And yeah, I had no idea why. Um so yeah, I grew up kind of, I always had this overwhelming sense of, I'm never going to be good enough for anyone. No one's ever going to love me. I had this fear of abandonment, fear of being replaced. And like I said, I was really codependent. And I had no idea where this stemmed from. I thought it was normal because I had never felt any other way. Like, I had genuinely never in my life felt truly happy, and like that's really sad to say. Like, I was 20 years of age and I never really experienced true happiness. And I also didn't really remember my childhood. So I was just like, I never knew that this feeling wasn't normal because I never knew anything else. But I tried to work with what I could, do what I could with what I had when I had it. You know, I took my bouts of happiness, and that was enough for me at the time. And then fast forward to kind of, I'd say, March, April of 2020. All of the feelings I had felt growing up were starting to make sense to me. So why I didn't feel good enough, why I never felt loved, why I was very attached to people, why I was drawn to negative relationships with people, friendships, romantic relationships. There was always a lot of toxicity in my life. So it was in like March, April 2020 that I started experiencing flashbacks to a moment of my childhood. I was having really vivid dreams of these moments, but I had no idea if it was real, if it was not real. And I was so confused. I was like really torn with myself. I didn't know where to go, who to talk to. Like, I had literally no idea what to do with these flashbacks, memories. And I sat on it for a really long time. So I'd say maybe a month or two had passed where I sat on these flashbacks, and one day it just exploded. It exploded out to my partner at the time. And then eventually my parents. And what I was experiencing was the resurfacing of repressed memories. So I have this wrote down what repressed memories are because I want to touch on this, because this is something that is really, really common, and this is so vulnerable and raw for me to talk about, but it's something that I want to bring light to because, you know, so many people suffer not knowing why they're suffering, I didn't know why I suffered or why I felt so different growing up. So repressed memories are memories that we unconsciously, usually due to trauma, repress. So we push them down into our subconscious. Our brains, our bodies, they do this as a defense mechanism, as a protective mechanism to protect whatever it is that you've been through from your conscious mind to try and help you cope. But the problem for me was that these memories were repressed from childhood of sexual abuse that I had been through as a child, and I had no idea until I was 20 what had happened. So I went through my life feeling not good enough, feeling unloved, feeling unworthy. I felt unworthy of respect, of love, of all of that. And even though I had such love and relationships around me, I couldn't accept it. I could not for the life of me understand why anyone would want to be friends with me, to love me, to be romantically with me. I just never felt worthy of love, respect. So I doubted these repressed memories for a couple of months, as I said. But once I, opened up about what I was experiencing and what I was going through, I talked to my parents and people, and we figured out the repressed memories. They were real. My brain was not making up lies. And as tough as it was going through this, once I established what I had been through, it really allowed me to heal. It allowed me to do the inner work and understand that, number one, what I had been through was not my fault. I was not to blame. That I was worthy and deserving of love. That I am good enough. And that I don't need to hide myself. I always hid in a room of people because I always felt like I stood out. Like I always just felt so different. And once I began to understand what it was that had caused the trauma that had caused me to feel this way for so many years, it set me free. Like, I can't explain how much remembering like those things, as hard as it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it allowed me to be free. And I don't want this episode to be like a pity me or like, this is not the purpose of me talking about and opening up about this trauma. The purpose of it is to show you that everyone has trauma, whether it's what I've been through or something completely different. Every single person has trauma. They have wounds that need healing. And I'm here to kind of shed light on something that is very difficult to talk about and something that so many people hold back. And to show people that no matter what you have been through, you can come out of it. Like, you have all of the power, all of the tools to overcome anything that you have been through. So for me, this was like the beginning of, I guess, my healing journey properly this time. When I had been kind of healing in the past, I was almost doing it for other people. When I found out everything I had been through, the first thing I done was I got pranic healing done, which is like a form of spiritual kind of healing where you use, your chakras and energy from the earth to kind of release trauma, release wounds, heal wounds. And genuinely, that saved me, because obviously trauma is held and stored in our physical body, so it needed to be released. But at the beginning of my healing journey, I was kind of, like I said, doing it for other people. I was in a relationship at the time, and everything that I had been through, it put a lot of strain on my relationship with others. Like, with my partner, but also with family, with friends, because I was not a nice person to be around, and there has to come a time where you take personal responsibility for your actions as well. You know, yeah, I went through a really shit time, but that doesn't give me the right to treat other people like shit. You know, I had to take responsibility that if I want to live a life that I deserve to live and that I knew now that I deserved to live, I had to go off and do the healing and do the work. But when I began doing the work, it was for others. It was because other people wanted me to do it. I don't think I was completely ready to do that work myself. So I was, doing all this healing, and I was better, looking better from the outside, but in the inside I was still going through a lot of like mental turmoil. Um and there was still a lot of toxicity within my relationship. I was still extremely codependent. I was still very afraid of being abandoned. Like had all these crazy feelings and emotions that I just found it so hard to get out of, and unfortunately it put too much strain on my relationship, and we went our separate ways, and there's no like bad blood with that person that I was with at all, because I've now been able to look and take ownership myself for my actions in that. But once that relationship ended, I actually started doing the work on myself for me. I learned to try and not be so codependent. I would have always been very anxiously attached in relationships, whether it was friendships, relationships, anything. And I struggled to have meaningful connection then with people, because I always had these fears of, being left or being abandoned or whatever. And, it puts strain on your partner or your friends when you need so much reassurance from that person. So becoming single and having to be on my own and having to listen to the voices in my head forced me to like actually do the work on myself and evaluate where I wanted to go in life. And then it kind of, I guess, the beginning of my business and everything that I do with my clients kind of came from those struggles. All I ever remember growing up was, I always said, whenever anyone asked me what I wanted to do for a living, what I wanted to do for a career, I was like, I just want to help people. But I never knew how I was going to help people. But that was all I knew I wanted to do. So I done a psychology degree, and I kind of realised through doing that degree that I actually don't want to help people in that way. I didn't feel a burning passion to be like working in a medical setting with people with mental illness. It just didn't like ignite that fire in me. But when I started going through my own healing journey, I really started using the gym as an outlet to help me build confidence, help me feel empowered, help me learn to be on my own and love myself for who I am and what I can offer to the world. And then I was like, you know what, hang on a minute, I can do something with this. I have a psychology degree. Went and done my personal training degree then, and I was like, I can make something really special out of this. And that was when Micha Coaching was born. So I work with women, basically trying to just show them that it doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, and what you've been through, anything from your past, your, whatever, you can be everything you want to be. You can achieve all those crazy goals that you think are unreachable. You can literally do whatever you want to do. There is nothing in this world that you can't achieve with dedication, with, doing it for the right reasons. And my business is built off my values, and it's built off the pain I went through. And I guess the big message I want to bring from this episode is that you can come from the darkest of place and build something really inspiring and empowering from it. I decided that I wasn't going to let this define my life. I let it control me for too long. Like, I let everything I went through affect my life for far too long, until I was like in my early 20s of like feeling like shit. So I decided I'm going to turn this pain into my power, my passion, my purpose. And my whole business is built off that ethos, my values. The ethos of my business is empowerment, female empowerment. Yeah, I'm a personal trainer, I'm an online coach, but I dig deep with my clients on why do they want to do what they want to do? Why do they want to lose this body fat or build this muscle? I work with them through their self-limiting beliefs, anything that's holding them back, because when you can figure out why you struggle or why you are feeling the way you're feeling, and then you have someone to guide you in showing you that you're actually everything you need. What I realized in the last couple of years of putting the work into myself, it was really fucking hard, but I learned that I'm all I'll ever need. I'm no longer that codependent girl, that girl that needed constant reassurance, the girl that wanted to hide in a room full of people. I'm the most confident I've ever been, and it comes with its ups and downs. I'm not bouncing off the walls every day of the week. I have my shit days, I have my tough days, but ultimately I can get through anything I go through, because I know that it's all within me. The tools, the answers, everything is within me, and I know that I'm good enough and I am enough exactly as I am. And what I try to bring to my business is to show people that you are too. You are everything you ever need. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're good enough. You don't need any validation of others, external validation. You just need that internal feeling of, I know I'm good enough and I know that I can achieve what I want to achieve, and that nothing can stand in your way. Yeah, obstacles will be thrown in front of you every day of the week, as they are for me, but I choose to use them to empower me further to get to where I want to go, instead of letting them hold me back the way I would have in the past. In the past, I would have seen an obstacle and be like, that wasn't meant for me. I would have been like, I can't do this, because I didn't love myself enough. I didn't respect myself enough to chase after the things I wanted to chase. And yeah, fast forward to today, I'm living in Bali. I travelled here on my own. I took a leap of faith, not really knowing what I was doing, moving my business online, but ultimately I knew that this is where I needed to be to get working on my goals and get working on the things that really matter to me and really inspire me. I'm living in Bali for the next few months, and I work with amazing women every day to help them, first of all, reach their physique goals, but that's not the be all and end all for me with my girls. I have an amazing team of strong, independent, empowered women, and I'm so happy and grateful that I get to help people every day unlock their true power and, show the world and show themselves what they are made of, teaching people how to love themselves. And yeah, I'm kind of wrap this up now in a minute, because I don't want to ramble for too long. But yeah, I guess the biggest message I want people to take from this episode, obviously, is just it's a little snippet into what I've been through and how I built my business around my hardship. And anyone can do that. It doesn't mean you have to go build a business around whatever you've been through, but you can use your pain and turn it into anything you want. Your grief, your trauma, your hardships, They don't define you. You define you. You define who you are. You define who you want to be. And don't let anything hold you back from achieving what you set out to do. Okay, so I'm wrapping up this podcast now, but we have just had a nightmare. So was wrapping up the podcast, and the whole power in Changu just said no. We we just went into darkness. Like, literally, that was this universe saying, right, Misha, shut up talking and this podcast right now. And I had a meltdown because I was like, if that footage did not save, I don't think I can record this again. But it saved. So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to try do these episodes weekly and have on some guests and just chat about, all things life, all things fitness, nutrition, spirituality, mental health. Nothing is off the table to talk about. So if there's anything that you want me to discuss on the podcast, anything that you want more information on, just drop me a DM. I will put my links in the little description. I'm still very unsure how this goes, so we'll figure it out as we go. We'll figure it out together. But thank you so much for listening. I would love to get some feedback from what you thought of the podcast. But yeah, I hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I'll see you all really, really soon.